And welcome to another geography episode. Today we're going to look at the revision exercises and in particular to the geography exemplar 2014 paper. Now this is basically an example of the final exam that you can expect. Now very importantly, before you answer your question paper, you need to go and read your instructions. Now your final exam consists of two sections. Sections A and Section B. Now Section A consists of two questions, Question 1 and Question 2. And the content is usually climatology and geomorphology, whereas Section B, Question 3 and 4 is about settlement and economic geography. Now very important, grade 12s. You only need to answer 3 questions. Your total for your question paper is 225. Very importantly, only choose 3 questions. If you're going to do all of the questions, the last questions will not be marked. But with further ado, let's quickly go and have a look at the question paper. Like I've mentioned, it's a paper out of 2014, and we're going to start right off with question number 1. Now the first question states, answer the following questions based on the weather station model below. Now before looking at the questions, let's just quickly look at this weather station model over here. First of all, a weather station model represents information around it. Now for instance, the 24 represents temperature. The 21 represents dew point temperature. The symbol over here represents the type of precipitation. The body of the weather station represents the cloud cover. The stem represents the wind direction. And this represents the wind speed. And to measure the wind speed, measure it in knots. Now that's your basic weather station model. First time you've done the weather station model was in grade 10. But let's just quickly look at the questions. Write down the air temperature of the weather station model. Now your weather station model, the temperature that's been experienced on this weather station model is 24 degrees. Okay. The next question, from which direction is the wind blowing? Now keep in mind, if you look at your weather station model, north is always on top. There's north, there's east, there's south, and there's west. And the wind direction over here, if this is north to south, east to west, there's northeast. So that will most probably be east, northeast is the correct answer. That's northeast. That will be north, northeast. And it will be much closer to east, northeast. So what will the correct answer be over there? East, north, east. If you look at our next question, what's the wind speed in knots? Let's quickly go back to the weather station model. Let's just quickly clean this area over here. Now, the knots that's being indicated over here is 10 knots. So the correct answer for number 3 was 10 knots. Just to add over here, please don't get confused between 5 knots and 10 knots. If the wind speed would have been 5 knots, it would have been looking like that. But because it's 10 knots, just one arm like that. Now, does the cloud cover indicate overcast or clear skies? If we go back to the weather station model, as you can see, just want to quickly wipe this out. Now, we represent the cloud cover in octaves. As you can see, it's fully colored in. So that will represent that the weather station model represents overcast conditions. Name the precipitation shown on the weather station model. Now, where do they show the precipitation? Over there, and that small black dot represents rain. Now, 1.1.6, write down the dew point temperature at the weather station. And if you look at the weather station, it's 21 degrees Celsius. Now, is the probability of rain high or low at this weather station model? Now, if you quickly look at the answers, first of all, temperature is 24 degrees Celsius, the dew point temperature is 21, the precipitation that's been measured over there is rain, and if you look at the cloud conditions, overcast. So your answer, what's the probability of rain? It's definitely going to be high. So that was your first question in question 1. But I want us to have a look at a probability. Now, they might ask you in your question paper as well to draw a weather station model with the following information. Temperature of 28 degrees, dew point temperature of 14 degrees, cloud cover of, let's say, 4/8, wind direction is let's say southwest, and wind speed is 15 knots, and let's say precipitation is thunderstorms. Now let's just quickly draw this weather station model together, because this question, you might get a question like this in your final exam as well. So we start with the cloud cover as 4/8, that's the body, and the cloud cover is half of that, colored in. Let's just quickly look at your temperature, 28 degrees Celsius. Very importantly, matrix, you can't fill in the temperature and dew point temperature. It needs to be top left-hand corner and bottom right-hand corner, left-hand corner for the dew point temperature, because we're only learning the basics over here. Around this weather station model is a lot of information, other information regarding the weather that the place experience. Our dew point temperature is 14. Just want to extend my page quickly. We look at that quickly. The wind direction is southwest. Wind speed is 15 knots, and activity of thunderstorm, look like that. So that will be a same question, just when you had to go and draw the weather station model. Now let's quickly move to question number 2. Now in geomorphology, we looked at the different drainage patterns. In your textbook, we looked at the dendritic pattern, we looked at the trellis pattern, and we looked at the radial pattern. But over here, they've asked us the rectangular pattern. And the rectangular pattern is very similar to the trellis pattern. Now, indicate to which drainage pattern each of the following descriptions refers. Now, dendritic, if you can remember, resembles the branches of a tree. Radial is from a high-lying area flowing downwards from a central point. And if you look rectangular, they join at acute right angles, 90 degrees. Resembles the branch of a tree. If you look at this diagram over here, the figure, definitely dendritic. So the correct answer over there is dendritic. Now the next question, forms on rocks that have many joints and faults. Now, if you go back to the diagram, that will be your rectangular. Okay, remember when we look at the characteristics, what they look like, and the underlying rock. The mainstream has many 90-degree angles along its course. Now, if you quickly look at the diagram, look at all the many 90-degree angles over there. You can see them over there, situated over there. They join at 90-degree angles. And that will obviously also be the rectangular pattern. Now, this pattern forms on rocks that have uniform resistance to erosion. Now, that question means that the underlying rock is the same. Now, if you look at the study guide, the one pattern where the rock is uniform means the same is your dendritic pattern. So the correct answer for that question is dendritic. Streams flow away from the central point. That's quite an easy one to remember. If you look at it over here, as you can see, the streams flow away from a central point. There's a central point situated over there. And that type of pattern is your radial pattern. And then 1.2.6. The tributaries join the mainstream at acute small angles. As you can see, that resembles the branches of a tree. That will be your dendritic pattern. Only forms a massive igneous rock. And if you look at this area over here, the radial pattern, it flows from a central point. And usually the underlying rock is igneous rock. Is your radial pattern. The tributaries join the mainstream at 90 degrees angle. So we previously looked at it, same question, but the tributaries is the other rivers joining the main river, and that will be your rectangular pattern. Now remember, these questions can come up in your MAPLIP paper as well. But remember, when you go and study the table with the different drainage patterns, with their characteristics. The characteristics is going to be the type of underlying rock and what they look like. Now, if you look at question 1.3, it shows us a satellite image of a tropical cyclone. Now, first of all, tropical cyclone, what do we know about tropical cyclones? It's a low pressure system developing in tropical areas from 5 degrees to 25 degrees north and south of the equator. And what do we know about a tropical cyclone? It consists of a name, and the name indicates how many cyclones have there been in the season so far. Now let's just quickly look at the questions that's being asked over there. Now there's a satellite image. Now immediately I can identify that it's a tropical cyclone because I can see the eye and I can see the clockwise circulation of air. So that's already a tip and a clue that this tropical cyclone is in the southern hemisphere. Actually 2 clues, because what do we call tropical cyclones in the southern hemisphere close to us? Tropical cyclones. What do we call them in the northern hemisphere? Usually hurricanes. But that's the tip over there. They said that it's a tropical cyclone, so we know it's clockwise circulation of air, and you can see at A that the eye is visible. Now let's just quickly look at the questions. Name the center of the tropical cyclone labeled A on the satellite image, and that is the eye of a tropical cyclone. Now I'm just going to throw it in here. This is a satellite image, so it's basically like a photo. If we look in the synoptic chart, what's the eye going to be looking like? It's a symbol looking like this. Okay, surrounded by perfectly shaped round isobars and a pressure below 1000 hectopascal. State the direction in which the clouds are turning, rotating around the center of the tropical cyclone. We've already established that. If you look at the satellite image, you can see it's a clockwise circulation of air in this tropical cyclone, so it means it's taking place in the southern hemisphere. Okay, so we can just add over here, clockwise. Now, what was the lifespan of this tropical cyclone, Aruna? And it was 7 days. Okay, if you look at the information given to you, the satellite image, okay, from the South African Weather Service, you will find it in your addendum that it only lasted for 7 days. How many tropical cyclones, including Aruna, have Mozambique already experienced for the season? Now, if you can remember, we call tropical cyclones, we name them according to the alphabet. So H is A, B, C, D, E, F, G. H was the 8th cyclone for the season. So that means Mozambique has already experienced the 8th tropical cyclone. Beforehand, there were 7 before it. Now, give one reason why tropical cyclone Aruna weakened when it moved out over Madagascar. Now, very importantly over here, when we learned about tropical cyclones, for the formation, it needs warm ocean temperatures above 27 degrees Celsius. It needs warm, humid conditions, and it needs to form between 5 and 25 degrees north and south of the equator. It can't form at the equator because of no Coriolis force. We need that Coriolis force for the rotating motion. Now, the reason why it weakened is because it moved over land. So immediately what happened? We removed the tropical cyclone from its source of energy. What happens over land? There's more friction. Whereas over the ocean there was no friction, and very importantly, there was no latent heat and there was no moisture. And that's the reason why. Give one reason why tropical cyclone Aruna weakened when it moved over Madagascar. It's because it loses energy. Because the ocean is its source of energy. After the break, we're quickly going to continue with question 1.3.6. See you now. Stay tuned.